Good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of Rotoworld Fantasy Basketball Q&A. I'm Raphielle Johnson, joined as always by Noah Rubin. Noah, how's everything going? So Onyeka Okongwu, out for a couple games, took an elbow to the mouth the other night, but other than that, I don't know. They did lose last night, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that was with no Jalen Johnson as well, who I'm hoping will be back for this weekend against the Pacers. I'm hoping that it was just like a second night of the back-to-back. Let's not risk anything. But yeah, it was rough without Jalen Johnson and Onyeka Okongwu. They started Christian Koloko and beat Krejci because Porzingis and Reese are still out. So very shorthanded Hawks team. But I'm still doing well. It's not just about regular season wins and losses because players are hurt. Everything else is going well.
All right, that's good. Yeah, pretty fun shootout between former Duke teammates Con Knipple and Cooper Flagg last night too. Cooper scoring 49. Couldn't get the game to overtime, but that was a pretty entertaining game to say the least. So, yeah. All right, all right. We're just gonna get into the Q&A now. We got a few questions lined up. First is Evelyn. Welcome back, and she would like to know Peyton Watson or Con Knipple. I assume this is for the rest of the season.
Gosh, I think I'd have to go Con here. I mean, I think Peyton Watson's role is pretty safe, but Con Knipple's is even safer. And he's been really efficient for a rookie. He's been figuring things out. Rookies usually get better second half of the year. Peyton Watson's been awesome. I think that if you're deciding between the two of them, maybe you're in a pretty shallow league because I think they're both like must roster players for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that. Watson, he'll still have a prominent role. I do wonder if they'll leave him in the starting lineup. Kind of feel like they should, but that's not guaranteed once everyone's back and healthy. So Knipple's spot in the starting lineup is guaranteed. So I think I would go with him as well. So. All right. Jiggy, good afternoon. And he would like for us to rank the rest of the season value / stashing. 9-cat head-to-head. We've got Dylan Cardwell, Sandro Mamukelashvili, Al Horford, and Malik Monk.
I want to say Horford should be last here just because limited minutes and availability. I want to say Mamu first, then Monk, then Cardwell. I think Cardwell's been awesome for a few specific categories. And maybe you're banking on Sabonis getting traded. I don't think that that's out of the question, but that could be like Maxime Reynaud and Dylan Cardwell sharing the minutes. So maybe you could say which categories you need more help with between Cardwell and Monk, but I would go Mamu first here.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Who knows if or when Jakob Poeltl will be back. Mamu's still getting good minutes. Colin Murray-Boyles would be the first choice. Obviously, he's not listed here, but he would be the first choice in Toronto in terms of that position. But Mamu would be first on this list for sure for me as well. Malik Monk, he's been the guy in the rotation recently. We've talked about this on a few different Q&As about him and Keon Ellis. Keon's probably the more likely to get traded just because of his salary. So that would probably free up Monk. So I would go with him second. Cardwell third because of the Reynaud situation. And then Horford, you still got the back-to-backs to contend with. And, yeah, I don't think he would be someone that I would be looking to stash for any fantasy league at this point. All right. And he's got another one. I'd like for us to pick sides here. Jalen Williams or the combination of Mark Williams and Russell Westbrook for the rest of the season?
Jalen Williams pretty easily here. He's by far the best player in this deal. I know he's out right now, but like he's worth the wait.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, Mark Williams has been good in Phoenix. He's been available. That's just as important as the production. Westbrook's been solid, but that situation in Sacramento is such that I could see his minutes potentially decreasing I don't think he'll be moved, but I could see his minutes decreasing as the season goes on. Not sure who they would play there, but they could put Nick Clifford on the ball. That was something they talked about during summer league. They playing him in a variety of spots. So I would much rather have Jalen Williams and wait for him to come back. You just hope it's not too long into the fantasy playoffs if it gets to that point. But I would much rather take the swing on him than the combo of Mark Williams and Russell Westbrook. All right, happy Friday to you as well, Rizzy McGuire. Thoughts on Gigi Jackson for the rest of the season? And do you have a few speculative pre-trade deadline stashes?
Let's see here. I think I did a show with Dan Vespris earlier this week. Goodness time. We're like talking about some deadline stashes. I think a lot of the Jazz guys, the Kings guys, like Jarris Walker as a pre-trade deadline stash. Honestly, he's playing pretty well already. If Memphis was like a good bit worse than they are now, like they're not great, but they're 3.5 games out of 10th. Like they're still pushing for a postseason spot. I could see Gigi Jackson being a silly season guy. Like say they're like, you know what? We just need a hard reset. People are really interested in Jaren Jackson. Let's make that move. Trade John Morant. Full reset. We have our pick. Let's do this thing. Gigi Jackson, I think, would be a really, really good option for the rest of the season. If this team's trying to compete for a postseason spot, I just don't see that happening. He's a young player with plenty of upside, specifically as a scorer. Like we saw that when he was a rookie. Second half of that season when they were like fully tanking because they just couldn't keep anybody healthy. He was awesome. I still think he can do that. So yeah, if Memphis kind of pulls the plug here, Gigi Jackson has a lot of upside as a silly season guy. If they're trying to push for the playoffs, don't really see the same upside.
Yeah, right now they're 3 games in the loss column behind the Clippers, 2 in the loss column behind the Trailblazers. Portland slightly ahead of the Clippers by percentage points, so it's kind of splitting hairs at 9th and 10th spot. I think it's going to depend on what happens with John Morant in terms of whether he's going to be able to hit the ground running once he returns from the elbow injury. If they move him, that's going to tell us a lot about what the direction of this team is going to be for the rest of the season, because from a standing standpoint, Dallas probably should not look to get into the mix to be a top 10 team. We've discussed that before. And then behind them, you're looking at Utah, Sacramento, and New Orleans. Even if those teams wanted to get in the mix, they've dug themselves too deep of a hole. So I think Memphis, they can go for it, I guess, but I don't know, man. I really don't know what's going to happen there. I think it's all going to happen with what they do with John Morant. In terms of pre-deadline stashes, just dropped an article earlier this afternoon. I had Jarris Walker on there for one. I think it's not so much a stash because he's played pretty well all season and he's been a starter. I would say Sadiq Bey. Like he's still rostered in less than 40% of Yahoo leagues. That's another guy. We discussed Colin Murray Boyles. I think Max Christie in Dallas is another one that I would strongly consider if he's available on your waiver wire. A lot of these guys are not even rostered in 30% of Yahoo leagues right now if you're playing on Yahoo. So there's still some good value to be had there, in addition to those teams like Washington and Utah that you can kind of scour some for value because of how bad their teams have been thus far. All right, Jiggy would like to know, would you hold Kevin Porter Jr. if the playoffs start in week 20, starting March 9th, and a lock for the playoffs? I held him missed pickups like Jalen Smith, Colin Murray Boyles, and Jalen Tyson. IL spots are filled with Franz Wagner and John Morant.
Let's see. What's that timeline on his return? Or was it just that, he's out a while from Doc Rivers?
Yeah, that was the latest update that we got on Porter.
Yeah, won't play anytime soon. That was the quote from a little over a week ago. What does that mean? I have no idea. But he wasn't like he started off really well in 9-cat leagues, kind of tailed off a little bit. Didn't even start that last game he played, which was first time he came off the bench all season. This is like a hard maybe here because a lot of it depends on does Giannis get traded, and what do they get back, and do they view Kevin Porter Jr. as a guy that will deter them from tanking?
Yeah.
If I were the one making those decisions and like they traded Giannis, I would say that Kevin Porter Jr. doesn't necessarily deter you from tanking, but maybe that's not how they view him. They could, like, who do they get back in a Giannis trade? That's always the big thing with these trade deadline stashes. So I think that if there is another strong stash option, because if you're pretty much a lock for the playoffs, then you probably want to look at that, because all we know is that we're not going to see Kevin Porter Jr. anytime soon. That doesn't tell us much, but we just not anytime soon.
Yeah, I was thinking back to last year. Remember, Franz Wagner and Paolo Banchero both missed time because of oblique injuries. Wagner was a little under 2 months. Banchero was a little over 2 months. So I don't know. I think it's a roll of the dice to hold on to him, but we don't know for sure. Like Noah said, it's also a roll of the dice to let go of him. But I don't know. I think depending on who's still on your waiver wire, it's tough that you missed out on Murray Boyles and Tyson, especially. But depending on who else is on your waiver wire, I would strongly consider moving on, because Milwaukee may be in a position where they're not competing for a play-in spot. And he's also going to have a ramp-up period too. Like, I don't see him playing starters minutes right away. So I don't know. I would strongly consider moving on if you can still get some good value on the waiver wire. So. All right, Nadia Ahmad, 12-team Roto, was tanking free throw percentage with Giannis. I'm trying to pivot now. I have Gobert. What is his value? And top 50 is the question here.
Oh, interesting. I wouldn't call him a top 50 player.
Yeah.
Let's see, if you're punting free throw percentage, how does that impact his just straight 9-cat ranking?
Oh, he's really good.
He is 25th.
Yeah.
So maybe if you are tanking your free throw percentage in a Roto league, then I just don't have Gobert rostered anywhere. And what is his value? But you're not trying to tank free throw percentage anymore. So yeah, if you're finding someone that can afford the free throw percentage, you can definitely sell him on like a top 50 guy. If you need evidence, go to Basketball Monster, click punt free throw percentage, and show them, hey, he's 25th right now over the course of the season. I'll get top 50 value. So I don't know specific names. I could give my thoughts on yes or no for specific names, but I think top 50 is fair.
Let me see here. Oh, that would be – well, what about Nick? If someone offered you Nick Claxton?
I think I'd rather have Gobert.
Okay.
I think part of that is the fact that he's on Minnesota, at least for now.
You know he's going to play through. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not saying Claxton's going to get shut down in February or anything like that, but there's that risk. So.
Yeah, it's tough because with Claxton, you're also technically punting free throw percentage, but
yeah,
that may be the type of center you're looking at here in terms of potential type of player that you'd be able to get back, because I don't know if anyone's going to give up like Bam. No one's going to give up Bam. No one's going to give up, I would say, even like a Josh Giddey. Like, I don't think you're going to be able to get him in exchange for Rudy Gobert.
Right.
So, yeah, I think it's a tough spot. Like, he should certainly aim high just because of what Rudy brings to the table. But I think it's going to be difficult to move him and get, like, really good value in return. You'd get decent value probably, but I don't know if you'd be able to get, like, a top 50 type player for him, unless you're talking someone like a Claxton who would – you'd also be giving up a category. Now, his assists have increased recently, which may make it a little bit more difficult to get him. But I think that's the type of player you're probably looking at here. Okay. I want to move on to Matt. Good afternoon. Would you rather roster Kyle Filipowski or Bryce Sensabaugh as a stash in 9-cat and points leagues?
I think I'd prefer Filipowski in both. Maybe actually the argument of Sensabaugh more so in points leagues, but
Mhm.
I don't know. I think both are worth stashing.
Yeah.
I think there's less, there are fewer options in Utah to soak up center minutes that are part of their rebuild. So I feel very confident in Filipowski starting at some point and like starting for a while. Sensabaugh could start, could come off the bench. There's also other wings that need minutes, Cody Williams, and other score first players like Ace Bailey that need minutes. So there's not quite the same just demand for minutes. So we could see Sensabaugh start. We could see him come off the bench. So I feel a little bit safer with Filipowski, even if Sensabaugh has these ridiculous scoring nights.
I think I'm going to go on the other side of this one. I think my concern with Filipowski is who's going to be getting him the ball and how often will they get him the ball. I think that's something where that's been a bit of an issue thus far when he's played extended minutes, where you have Keontae George, who's done better in terms of running a team, but he's more of a scorer. Isaiah Collier is a good distributor, but that tends to benefit everyone, not just the big men. And Walter Clayton, he's still kind of finding himself as a rookie. So I think they're both going to play plenty. I think the one thing that'll probably go against Sensabaugh is that he can probably score enough to drag them over the finish line for a couple games, and I don't know if they want that. So that would be the concern there. But I think I would still go with Bryce, especially in points leagues. I think categories, I may lean a bit more towards Filipowski, though.
We just got a news update. Did you see this? Jokic back tonight?
Jokic, yeah.
It's huge.
Nice.
They're saying, I guess, if he plays the rest of the season, he'll be eligible for postseason awards. I don't know if that, like, I can't imagine that's a priority for him. And, like, but he does typically play through injury. So that's a pretty, I mean, it was about a month, which I think they had said it was like reevaluated in 4 weeks. But yeah, he's going to play tonight against the Clippers. So that's Valanciunas to the bench, probably eliminates most of the streaming value that he had. So
it's awesome. All right, Jiggy. Obi Toppin, 14-team head-to-head 9-cat. Should I stash him now? Notes the current situation of the Pacers center position. And he would drop either Ty Jerome or Max Christie. And he's locked for the playoffs. And he's got Hero and Kevin Porter Jr. in his IL spots.
I think dropping Ty Jerome for Obi Toppin makes sense here.
Yeah.
Because I think even if you're just banking on who's going to be the better stash, like the center position has been a mess in Indiana. And I don't think that Obi Toppin, who's missed most of the season, is going to be, I guess, kind of fine with just, okay, now we're also trying to tank. So let's just sit out the rest of the season. Like, I'd imagine that they'll play him some. Ty Jerome, best case scenario, I think you're looking at a John Morant trade where they don't get any other point guards back. And then he's splitting time with Cam Spencer and Scottie Pippen Jr. and is coming off a major injury. Like, there could be some appeal there, but I feel like there's a lot of factors there. Whereas Obi Toppin, if he's playing, the path to minutes is clear.
Yeah. All I'll say is this: do not drop Max Christie. Like, just, I would not do that at all. Like, we don't know if or when Kyrie Irving will play this season. Anthony Davis, we'll see what they do there. Like, it doesn't make sense for the Mavericks to put those two on the floor just because they want to see them with Cooper Flag. Like, I get the rationale, but the rationale also doesn't make sense if you get what I'm saying, so yeah, I would not drop Max Christie at all. I would consider dropping Ty Jerome. He's out tonight. I know he's been listed as doubtful a couple times, but he's out again. So he may be getting closer. We'll see what happens, but if you're going to drop anyone for Obi, it needs to be Ty Jerome. Right. Adam, who do you like more for the rest of the season? Drew Holiday or Grayson Allen? 10-team 9-cat.
Probably Grayson Allen. Yeah, he's just been really good. And I think maybe things change, but like, say this team does finally get fully healthy. Grayson Allen's still probably playing 25 minutes per game off the bench, and they're not putting him out there to do anything or to just kind of stand there. Like, they're putting him out there to shoot threes. So those will stay, and he should play enough to get you a little bit in other places. And that's pretty consistent. Whereas Drew Holiday's been good, but I'm interested to see if they manage his minutes, if he gets moved at the deadline, because there's rumors of that. Scoot Henderson, how does he factor in? Does he even play this season? So both, I think, are valuable, but I think I'd prefer Grayson Allen.
Yeah, I think I'll go with that as well, because Portland's going to have to see what they have in Scoot Henderson at some point if he's able to play this season. So, yeah, I think I like Grayson. I think it's close between these two, but I would like Grayson as well in terms of the rest of the season value. All right, Daniel would like to know, Isaiah Collier or Ty Jerome for the rest of the season? 12-team 9-cat, assist to turnovers instead of turnovers into head-to-head league.
I'd say Collier.
Assist
turnovers instead of because I don't think
he's a heavy turnover guy either. So
he's not, especially in comparison to the amount of assists that he gets. Like, on the season, 6.7 assists, 2.3 turnovers.
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty good. But I think I had mentioned this previously. Like, he's still playing big minutes even when he's coming off the bench. But I see a scenario where they're like, hey, if we're gonna tank, we need Keontae George to be part of that tank in the sense that he's not playing. So we could see a nice stretch of Isaiah Collier as a full-time starter, whereas Ty Jerome, as I said previously, just like not super confident in him being a 30-plus minute per game guy down the stretch of the season.
I'm starting to wonder if the idea of Ty Jerome is getting a few people out over their skis in terms of his fantasy value. Because we haven't seen him play in that system yet. So, in theory, it could be a good run for him, but because of the amount of time missed, I don't know. I would much rather have Collier in this scenario, and I don't know. I'm not really on the Ty Jerome fantasy bandwagon for the playoff weeks, to be honest with you.
Yeah, before last season, if somebody would have said, should I stash Ty Jerome? You've been like, what are you talking about? Why would you ever do that? Last year, he was awesome.
Yep.
Earned a nice contract with Memphis. Most of his good games came when he was starting or just, had some big games off the bench as well. But he's also playing alongside like Donovan Mitchell, where he's not necessarily like Ty Jerome was not the focus of the defense. Whereas if he is starting, that means John Morant's not there. So there's gonna be more focus on Ty Jerome. So I just don't see him matching his production from last season. I think he's still really good. I'm not saying it's like, he just a one-hit wonder for last season. Memphis wasted their money or anything like that. I feel more confident in Collier.
Okay, now we'll go and edit this question right now. Who should I drop when Jokic returns? Obviously, it's probably going to happen tonight. 10-team 9-cat head-to-head 1IR auction draft. And here's his roster. We've got Keontae George, Quickly, Sharp, Drew, OG, Hart, Brandon Miller, Keyshawn George, Bizelis, Eason. At center, you got Wemby and Duren. And obviously, you're going to have Jokic as well. And he says later that he's leaning towards Drew Holiday here.
Gosh. Probably is.
Yeah.
Maybe there's an argument for Tari Eason because you do have a little bit more depth at forward and he's been in and out of the lineup. But I feel pretty confident in him, whereas Drew Holiday, has been decent.
Yeah, his minutes have
good.
still been kind of restricted too. So.
Right. He did get off to a really strong start to the year, though.
Yeah.
It's tough. You have a good team. But I guess it is 10 team. That makes a little bit more sense. It is between. You could add Buzelis to that conversation too, but I feel like it's. Do you have a strong opinion?
I think Drew's going to be the one to drop, especially we follow up here, and he made the moves he made after last week's show. Traded Grayson for Keyshawn, dropped Khalil Ware for Tari Eason, and Jalen Smith for Modest Buzelis. I think those are all good moves. Especially, obviously the timing getting Buzelis really works out well with Jalen Smith going out with that calf injury last night. But
yeah,
who knows what's going on with Khalil Ware? I think with the Giannis rumors, it probably makes sense if he were one of the pieces headed to Milwaukee if Miami were to pull that off. So, in that case, obviously there would be a competition with like Miles Turner, but I'm starting to think that it might be in Milwaukee's best interest to wait until the offseason to do something. But we'll see what happens there. But I think these are all pretty good moves, and I would probably lean towards dropping Drew Holiday as well. All right. Evelyn would like to know, Andrew Nemhard, is he in danger of sitting random games during the fantasy playoffs?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, I don't know. Depends on when your fantasy playoffs are. I would say, like, my stronger answer would be yes, but maybe you see Indiana say, okay, you know what? We've been pretty bad while still playing everyone. Let's just keep doing it. Like, they have the third worst record in the league this year. But I think we're also going to see a lot of other teams shift towards a harder tank, which in turn is going to make Indiana kind of force their hand because they've already been this bad. Like, don't really want to waste this season, end up with like it's a really, really good class, but like the 7th or 8th pick because a couple teams leap you in the lottery and you weren't in that top 3. I could definitely see that start to happen.
Get ready to learn Cam Jones. All right. Matt would like to see Austin Reeves back soon too. I'm not reporting anything, but I would bet, given how things tend to happen, he's going to be on the court Sunday night at Madison Square Garden. People just tend to get healthy when they play the Knicks on the road. No, you're laughing, but I'm serious. Especially with their one trip of the season, and it could be LeBron's last visit. I'm calling my shot right now. That's possible, but I would bet anything
that he will at least be back by Sunday.
Yes. And then he's going to score like 30 or something. Yeah. All right. Howdy, Byron. Rate these guys for the rest of the season. Ayo Dosunmu, Kelly Oubre, Najee Marshall, RJ Barrett, and Jonas Valanciunas. And Noah, you told me to drop Oubre instead of Westbrook, and it was already too late.
My bad. I still stand by that though.
Yeah.
I know Westbrook's missed the last couple of games, but I think with rest of the season, well, I think last would be Valanciunas here now that Jokic is back, because I'm not banking on Jokic missing a bunch more time. Obviously, you can't really predict injuries, but I think Valanciunas as a backup doesn't really move me that much. I would say Najee Marshall first. Then probably. Oh, he's saying it was too late. He already dropped Russ instead of Oubre. I was reading that wrong. That's okay. I'd probably go Najee, Dosunmu, Barrett, Oubre, Valanciunas. Don't love RJ Barrett, but I feel like he's definitely going to get more usage than Kelly Oubre based on their situations.
Yeah, I think, man, the Ayo situation is somewhat complicated by Josh Giddey's hamstring. but he did start the second half when Jalen Smith went down last night since Giddey was
Right.
also out. But yeah, I think I would go Najee 1. I'm gonna go Barrett 2. I'm not big on his value in category leagues, but I'll go with him 2. Io 3rd, Oubre 4th, and then Jonas 5th. But, okay, let's see. Who would you rather have Jalen Smith, Tumani Kamara? Is that Zach Collins? Or is it John Collins? I think I'm going to assume it's John
say
Collins.
John.
Yeah, John Collins or Brandon Pajemski, 9-cat head-to-head.
Pods. Just with Jimmy Butler out for the year, I feel pretty good about that. But I don't know. I don't think there's like a home run hit here, but I would lean Pods.
I'd agree with that. I'd probably have Jalen Smith ranked 4th of these options. I'd go Pajemski, Collins, Kamara, and then Smith. Okay, I have Giannis in my 10-team 9-cat head-to-head. If he doesn't get traded by the deadline, is he a drop or too good to be a drop? I do have him in my IL.
I wouldn't drop Giannis. I just wouldn't. You don't want that to come back to bite you.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's basically the best way to put it.
Yeah, I could see him trying to play if they don't trade him. Just because he's that type of competitor. Like I'm sure they'd probably try to limit his opportunities if it came to that. But yeah, I do not drop him. He's too good of a player to drop. So, all right, James would like to know Kyle Kuzma for the rest of the season without Giannis.
I don't care. I'm not rushing Kuzma. I'm not interested.
Mm-hmm. He played reasonably well last night, but that's kind of like the ceiling for him in terms of fantasy. So, yeah, I feel better about Bobby Portis, and give him credit. Miles Turner has been much better recently. So, obviously, you're probably not going to get Miles Turner off the waiver wire. Portis is going to be tough to get outside of outside of standard leagues, I guess. Like deeper leagues, he's probably already taken off the board. So I'm not too big on Kuzma. I would much rather have Ryan Rollins if he were healthy. But again, he's rostered in far more leagues than Kuzma. So I feel like we've been down this road before with Kyle Kuzma in terms of fantasy basketball, and it's not worth it, I don't think. Are people still high on Yegor Diom and Danny Wolf as stashes? Even with the minutes, they aren't producing much. 12-team head-to-head.
Maybe my expectations are tempered a little bit. I'm still pretty confident in Diom as a silly season guy. I think the expectation shouldn't be that rookies are going to be masters of efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably going to be an issue. And if that's very vital to your team, then maybe you steer clear and look for some slightly like players that have had a couple more years of experience. But you can afford that a little bit. I think the difference, what's going to happen over the final couple months is pretty confident Michael Porter Jr. is not going to be a net after the trade deadline. Don't think that there's any reason for them to prioritize playing Cam Thomas as much as possible. Like he's pretty much he's gone this summer. He's going to find somewhere else to play. Like that, it really seems that way. So you're going to see more usage, probably slightly more minutes for Diom and Danny Wolf, Drake Powell, etc. for their young guys. So it's going to be inefficient. There's going to be bad nights, but the usage will just lead to more assists, more points, more threes, rebounds, etc. So I'm still pretty confident.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd agree with that. I'm more confident in Diom than I am Wolf. just because you also have like Day'Ron Sharp, who's going to get his opportunities. He's played reasonably well. But yeah, I think those two are going to be fine. Like the other three rookies, Drake Powell's had some starts, but the production really hasn't been there. Nolan Traore and Ben Saraf have a long way to go. They were the rotation point guards last night, and there were moments where they looked decent, but they've got a long way to go before they can like truly be a factor, in my opinion. So if that's used as a reason to kind of put Diorman on the bench beyond like the back-to-backs that we've seen him sit out, then there'd be a little concern on my part. But until it gets to that point, I'm still going to feel pretty confident in Yegor Diorman as a stash guy for the rest of the season. All right, following up the Kuzma question for earlier. So Max Christie over Kyle Kuzma. Yes.
Yes. Very confident.
Absolutely. All right. I think this is just a general basketball question. I don't know who wins the trade between KD and Kawhi. Like, I'm not sure why either team would do that, but it's fantasy.
I think better playoff schedule. Okay. Would it be like that?
That's what I'm going to assume. Better playoff schedule. Let's pull them up here.
That'd be my guess.
Well, if you're playing weeks 20 through 22, the Clippers actually have one more game.
21 through 23.
Okay. Yeah, 21 through 23. Okay.
Do you have the Clippers schedule during weeks 21 through
21? It's 4-4-3 for the Clippers. So week 23 is going to be that 3-game week.
I think I would probably rather have Kawhi. I know you're missing out on a game in the championship of what would be your championship, but like, I don't know. I think it'd be one thing if it was like 5-2-4 like that, where it's like, hey, there's a week where you're going to have like a really big weakness there. Yeah. And but I think it's the fact that it's going to be the same the first 2 weeks. Then you just have to worry about one less game in the championship. And actually, like, Kawhi's been playing back-to-backs, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Or maybe not recently, but for most of the season has been. Let's see. Actually, I don't think he's just straight up missed like the second leg of a back-to-back this season. Outside of like the first absence that he had was the last game he played was the first of a back-to-back, then came back the second of a back-to-back. But he's been playing back-to-back, so it's not like that is going to be a massive issue. That could change potentially. Maybe we'll get a better idea of what that looks like Sunday and Monday because they have a back-to-back coming up. But I was going to say, do they have a back-to-back week 21? They do. Week 22, they do not. And week 23, they do not. So maybe you get one fewer game than you were expecting. But no, I think I'd rather have Kawhi there.
Yeah, that back-to-back, both games are New Orleans. But you have to think the Clippers would probably be fighting for playoff seeding at that point. So I think if he's healthy, he's probably going to play. So I wouldn't be too concerned about that personally. So I think I would lean Kawhi slightly as well. Now that we've kind of figured out what we're all debating here. So, okay, James, happy Friday to you as well. Is Ace Bailey a must start in 14-team, 14-cat roto?
Yes. I'd say he is. I think he's a strong option for the rest of the season.
Yeah, He's not going to give you too much consistently in some of the other categories like rebounds and whatnot, but he did have a good night the other night. He had 7 boards, something like that. So hopefully he can pick that up and continue on that path. We all know he's going to have every opportunity to play quality minutes the rest of the way. So, yeah, 14 team leagues, go for it. All right. He's got 2 spots left in his lineup here, and he'd like to know who he would start between Ace Bailey, Max Christie, Neemias Queta, Kyle Kuzma, and Kyle Filipowski.
Is this like rest of season? Is that how we're taking this? Or is it
I would assume as much.
Oof, that's tough, Ben.
I think I'd go Max and Queta personally.
So no Kuzma. I think we agree there.
Hell no.
So then that's 2 spots between the other 2. I might go with both Jazz guys. I've been very in on both of them. Queta's been good most of the season though, which makes me. I'll say Ace and Queta, and I still think Filipowski's a nice stash, and I think Christie's going to be a solid option as well. I'm just pretty excited about what Ace Bailey can do the final 2 months of this season, and Queta's just been very consistent on a playoff team. So there's no. I think he's a starter rest of the season, which I'd not like that. That's like a controversial take or anything, but
4 of the 5 names I'm cool with. And then there's Kyle. Like, I'm sorry, I can't consider him for fantasy basketball at this point. So, yeah. Okay, would you drop Dylan Cardwell for Yves Missi in 9-cat 12 team?
I want to say no off the top of my head, but I know Macy's been pretty good recently, so I think I'd still rather have Cardwell. I think there's more upside there because there is like potential for shutdowns or trades there, whereas Messi, I don't really see it as much with Derek Queen healthy.
And I think with Messi, you're kind of rooting for him to get traded. That's the big thing. Because if he's there through the deadline, you got the Derek Queen factor, and who knows how much they're going to be willing to play Messi. So, yeah, I would go Cardwell as well. It's close, but I think I would lean Cardwell as well. And he's only played 22 games. I don't know if that matches the number he's been active for. As a 2-way guy, I think he'll probably be okay in terms of his eligibility for the rest of the season too. So. All right. Wimby would like to know, would you trade Josh Giddey for Cat, 9-cat 12 team? Absolutely.
Yeah, I would do that.
Yeah, if you can get Cat, absolutely.
Yep. I think he's a better option rest of the season.
Yeah. All right, Daniel, do I drop Draymond Green for a prospect like Walter Clayton Jr., Dylan Cardwell, Danny Wolf, Musa Cisse, or Jared McCain? 190 deep keepers league, and he's got no limit on the number of players he can hold, it looks like here. Besides the roster spots, obviously.
I think it's probably like no limit on the amount of players you keep from year to year. So it's basically like a dynasty.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it's fair to drop him for Jared McCain, who I'm pretty sure I have the highest in my dynasty rankings among these options. You may not get as much silly season value out of him, but I think he's the most valuable for dynasty leagues.
All right. Good afternoon to the commish. Would you trade Cat for Giannis in 9-cat? Not punting free throws specifically, but does the Giannis upside outweigh what Cat is doing right now?
Maybe if you, actually, I think that makes. Wait, trade Cat for Giannis. No, I'd rather have Cat. Sorry.
He's healthy.
Yeah, and there is that scenario where Giannis doesn't get traded at the deadline, which I don't think is like unrealistic by any means. And they wait till summer, and he's nursing a calf injury, and I could see Giannis as the type of player that's like, no, I'm still going to come back and finish out this season like the right way. But there's also a scenario where that doesn't happen, and you have Karl Anthony Towns, who isn't as good, but is playing basketball.
Yes, if this were a dynasty league, would you do it?
Yes. I have Giannis ranked higher.
Yeah.
Maybe if like it's not far off, so maybe if like you're really contending right now and you don't, and like you would rather just prioritize that, then sure, you can keep Cat. But I think if it's dynasty league, like Giannis is the more valuable asset.
Yeah. Okay. All right, before you guys leave, I'll ask Noah this again. Would you stash Kuzma in any of your teams?
Any of my leagues, no. If I was playing in a super, super deep league, then sure. But that's not going to happen this year.
Yeah. All right. AJ Mitchell for the rest of the season, even when Oklahoma City is fully healthy, do you believe he will be top 90? And should he drop Ty Jerome or Kevin Porter Jr.?
I think he can be top 90. Yeah, I would drop Ty Jerome. Be a little bit better about Kevin Porter Jr. than Ty Jerome. Still don't feel great about either, but yeah, I like AJ Mitchell.
Yeah. Plus, you think about it, we've seen this formula before the Oklahoma City. Like last year, Cason Wallace was a top 100 player, despite being part of a loaded perimeter rotation.
Yeah.
So AJ can certainly maintain what he's done to this point in the season, and I'm in agreement with Noah. Like if you're going to drop either of those guys to pick up Mitchell, it would be Ty Jerome for me as well. Okay. I was offering Giddey, Keyshawn George, and Rollins for Denny Avdia and Cat. I think this is too much.
I think that's probably pretty close to a fair trade. I mean, actually, what am I saying? You're getting the two best players in the deal. If you're getting Denny and Cat, you're offering Giddey, Keyshawn, Ryan Rollins. I'm doing that trade.
I wonder if he might have to raise the value for one of those guys. Like go a little higher than maybe Rollins. I think it's certainly a fair trade. I just wonder if you have Denny and Cat, if you're going to be willing to give them up for that.
Right. And Rollins should be really good with Kevin Porter and Giannis out. And Keyshawn's been awesome recently. Josh Giddey still has been productive. So, like, obviously there's an argument to be made that if you're looking for specific categories, Giddey is pretty close to Denny and Cat, and then Keyshawn, Ryan Rollins aren't super far off. So I think it's pretty somewhat even. I would just prefer the Denny and Cat side.
Yeah. Okay. I think I'll need steals and blocks to win my matchup this week. Do I go with Bilal Coulibaly or Herb Jones?
Let's take a look at schedules for the weekend. So New Orleans plays Memphis and Philly. Washington plays the Lakers and Kings. So no games played advantage there. Let's see what Herb has been doing.
Bilal's been really good recently.
So Herb's played the last 3 games and has 4 steals and 6 blocks during that time.
I'm going Bilal. 4 steals, 4 blocks, first 2 games of the week.
Yeah, it's pretty close. Can't really go wrong there because they're both been able to do both quite a bit. I think I'll go Bilal as well. He's playing tonight, second night of a back-to-back, so that's good. Yeah, I'll go Bilal as well.
Do you think it is a good idea to trade Brandon Miller away now because of his shoulder concerns? And if so, who will be the target?
I think if you're trading him, it shouldn't just be because of a shoulder concern. It could be like a sell high because he's been really, really good recently. So I wouldn't be doing it just because of the shoulder. But as far as who could be a target, like he's been quite like very, very good recently. So you're probably looking at like a second or third round type of producer, which may be hard to swing.
Let's see here. That probably wouldn't happen. That's a tough one. I'm not really sure who to like kind of target there because I don't think you'd be able to get like a Cooper Flag, for example. You know, he's just outside the top 50, but his upside is such that I don't know if the person who has him would be willing to part with him. And you're clearly going to want some scoring back in return, I would assume. So, yeah, I would not be looking to trade Brandon Miller personally. Given how well he's played, knock on wood, he's been able to stay relatively healthy recently. So, yeah, I would not consider making that move. Okay. Would you buy low on J-Dub because the other option was Cat and J-Dub? That goes back to this question here.
I think I'd rather have Denny Avdia than Jalen Williams for the rest of the season, just because he's already been pretty good. Like I think Jalen Williams can get better, but could be out for a little bit longer and could take some time to ramp up. And he has kind of struggled this year. So if you're able to buy low in the sense like you give up less than Giddey, Keyshawn, and Rollins, then maybe you do take a look at that. I think that's another strong option.
Yeah. All right, punting assist. Who would you take for Jalen Duren? And his options, it looks like Mark Williams, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Khalil Ware, Donovan Clingan, DeAndre Ayton, or is Duren that much better than all of them?
I'd take Duren over everyone on that list.
Yeah.
If you're able to get two of them, then maybe like Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Donovan Clingan is a pretty good option. But tossing Ayton out of here, Mark Williams doesn't really compare to Duren. Clingan, I think, has an argument production-wise, but I feel much better about Duren as a scorer. So if you're able to get like Clingan and Nickeil Alexander-Walker, I think that's something that you do. But other than that, I'd rather just keep Duren.
Agreed. I would not want to trade him. He's been too good in that role. It's a really good one for him in terms of fantasy value and in real life basketball value too. So he's going to be a free agent this summer as well. So that'll be interesting to see how much the Pistons have to pay to keep him. So, all right, Marco Magnetic would like to know, how do you feel about offering Okongwu and Bane for Bam and Josh Hart? I'm wondering if I would have to sweeten the deal.
I don't think you would have to sweeten the deal.
Yeah. Bam's been better, but I don't think that would require you to add anything to it, to your package that you're offering here.
Right. And like, I know Josh Hart's been good and Bane has been a little underwhelming overall this year, but I think that's probably a pretty even trade value wise if you're wanting to do that to get Bam and Josh Hart.
Yeah. Yeah, this would be the offer that I would place. I wouldn't look to try to sweeten anything. if they say no, that it is what it is. But I don't think you have to add anything else to this offer to try to get Bam and Josh Hart. All right. With Jokic back, I'm going to send out some trades right now. Who are some good point guard targets for a Drew and Shaden Sharp package? Thinking Brunson, Giddey, or even LaMelo, 10-team 9-cat head-to-head. He also mentions Tyler Hero and Devin Booker as potential targets.
I think you're gonna struggle to get a response on any of those for Drew and Shaden Sharp. And maybe Tyler Hero's the one that works, but he's been hurt a lot this year.
Yeah.
I'm not super.
Is he going to be able to help you? That's the thing.
Yeah. So I think the most realistic one there is probably LaMelo.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that would be worth it. So that's the one I would try.
Yeah. I don't think you're going to be able to get Brunson. Booker hasn't been the fantasy value guy that we thought he'd be, but he's still been really good. Don't think you're going to get him, even though he's currently out. Giddey, probably not, but I guess that's something you could potentially kick the tires on. So say either him or LaMelo would probably be the ones where you may have the best chance of reeling one in, but I don't know. That's between Giddey's hamstring and LaMelo's minutes in terms of the back-to-backs. I don't feel great about either of those guys, but the landscapers are here, but we're almost done. So, all right, would you trade Dyson Daniels for Josh Hart, 9-cat 12-team?
No. I think I'd rather keep Dyson Daniels. Both have been good. I think with Trae Young gone now, though, I think just Dyson Daniels is a little bit higher on the priority order in Atlanta than Josh Hart is in New York. I don't know. They're both pretty well-rounded, though. So I don't know. Maybe you feel differently, but I think I would stick with Dyson Daniels. But I don't know if you're still muted or if we're waiting on.
Yeah, you're right. I'd probably stick with Dyson. I think it's close, but Dyson's defensive numbers, they were going to drop after last season. Like you average 3 steals per game, that's going to come down. But I think overall he's still been pretty good in terms of fantasy value. So I would hold on to him. I would hold on to him as well. And then one last name for Adam's point guard possibilities, Grayson Allen. That'll be a worst case scenario for him, it looks like.
I mean, I'd rather have Drew and Shaden Sharp than Grayson Allen individually, so I'd probably just hold there.
I think I would just stop before I got to that point. Grayson's been good, but you have to think at some point they'll have Devin Booker and Jalen Green in that rotation. Like he can still provide value, but the ceiling comes down considerably when all those guys are out there. So, yeah, I would Hero, Ball. You want to try for one of those two? Fine. After that, I think you just be better off sticking with Drew and Shaden. All right. Well, we can go ahead and wrap this up because it's been about an hour, and that's all we have. So, once again, thank you all for chiming in. Some really good questions and insights. Well, all right, we'll get this last one, Daniel. All right. Will Keegan and DeJounte Murray be valuable enough to slide into active slots once back and during ramp up 10-team 9-cat head-to-head?
Keegan, sure, but DeJounte Murray, I'm very confident is not playing basketball this season. Keegan, sure. Not expecting much if DeJounte even suits up at all. Just too much, or I guess like a lack of information, and then the stuff that comes out is like there's some sort of disconnect, and DeJounte Murray hasn't been there, and blah blah blah. So I'm not optimistic.
Yeah, DeJounte is like Ty Jerome. The idea of him coming back may not align with the reality of it. So Keegan, he'll help you out once he gets back, but DeJounte, probably not. So, And with that, we will now really wrap it up. Once again, thank you all for your questions and insights. I'm Raphielle, he's Noah, and we will be back next Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern after the trade deadline. So we should have a lot to discuss. So thanks again, guys. Have a good weekend.